Hello, I'm Kimberly Parnell, and you are listening to Engaging Texas Families, a podcast from the Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Initiative of Texas. Let's jump into today's episode. Here in the Lone Star State, family is everything, and this podcast is dedicated to exploring the joys, challenges, and unique dynamics of raising strong, connected families in our educational system right here in Texas. Our hope is that something that is shared here ultimately impacts families in a way that results in stronger connections and ultimately academic success. In this inaugural episode, we are joined by the Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Coordinator, Shannon Lang. Shannon, we're so excited to have you on our podcast today.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, my name is Shannon Lang. Like you said, I'm the program coordinator for the Title I Part A Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Initiative. We're housed here at Region 16 Service Center in Amarillo, Texas. I am a native of the area. I was born here in Canyon, Texas, and grew up and graduated in White Deer, which is about an hour from Amarillo. So I'm a really small town girl. I am married, been married for 26 years now, and I have two wonderful kids, a 23-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son.
Awesome. Shannon's family is super fun, and when she says she comes from a tiny town, she is not lying. White Deer is, what would you say the population is?
It's just right around 1,000, kind of give or take from, a year or two. I graduated with 22 other people. The interesting thing about that was about 11 of them were actually from White Deer. The other 11 lived in an even smaller town called Skellytown, and they got bussed in every day for high school because Skellytown didn't even have a high school. So that's how small and rural the town that I grew up in was, and I really think it helped to form the work I do today. I can really empathize when we have schools that are struggling with certain aspects of education, even parent and family engagement, because of, just being small, being rural, and all of those challenges that come along with that.
That's right. Fun fact, White Deer did not even have an Allsups until what? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Oh, no, we've had an Allsups for a long time.
I must have just missed it in all my many tricks through there.
No, I wouldn't have survived high school without an Allsups burrito and a Tulsa.
Maybe it got an updated Allsups.
It did get an updated Allsups. I will tell you, White Deer does not have a Dairy Queen, and we haven't since I was a very young girl. It's so sad.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Well, tell us a little bit. What initially drew you to the work to work in the field of education, and then ultimately in advocating for parent and family engagement?
Okay, so that is a great question to kick things off. Honestly, for me, working in education, I think it's a calling. I grew up surrounded by educators. My mom was a teacher here in Texas for 30 years. My Aunt Tammy taught and coached at schools here in Texas and in Oklahoma. And I have several other cousins who are also educators. So you could really say it's kind of in my blood. When you grow up in that environment, it really shapes your perspective. And I think for some of us, we're just drawn to the profession.
Okay, so now tell us a little bit what brought you to parent and family engagement.
When it comes to focusing on parent and family engagement, that journey had a few different turns. After teaching in the classroom for about 10 years, I shifted to working as an intervention teacher, working with kids struggling in reading and math. And that's when I started to see the profound impact education had on families. When kids are struggling, it's very emotional. And I would meet with the parents often, from kindergartners to fourth graders. It was pretty consistent that I was having family meetings throughout the campus. I'd meet with parents regularly, and I'd have to share with them that their child is behind, that they maybe needed some specialized support, some specialized instruction to help them be successful in the classroom. And it's such a vulnerable time for parents because there's a lot of fear and anxiety there. I can also say that with some empathy because I've been on the other side of that table as a parent of a child with a learning disability myself. I understand that fear, that uncertainty about what school is going to look like for my child, or even, what is future life outside and a career going to hold for them, and all of the things in between. After several years of that, I did move into campus administration, and I continued to see that dynamic through discipline meetings, through 504 meetings, and special education meetings. And sitting there and listening to parents share their very real concerns and their needs, it really let me see, it kind of clicked for me that there is a significant gap and a need for educators and families to really partner with each other and genuinely collaborate to improve the educational experience for all of our students.
Right. I love that. I love your heart behind why you do what you do and the process of how you got here. Well, like Shannon mentioned, we are housed at Region 16 Education Service Center. We are a team of 7. We have Shannon, our coordinator, 4 education specialists, a digital media specialist, and then our administrative assistant. And we work all across the state, training other education service center employees as well as just education professionals all across the state. Shannon, looking ahead to the current year, we've worked on some goals for our team. What is one of the primary goals that we're focusing on at the PFE Statewide Initiative?
Okay, so our team spent a lot of time over this last year working hard and gathering some valuable feedback from our partners at the other 20 education service centers across Texas. And what we wanted to do is we really felt like we needed to understand the best ways to support staff at both the regional and the school district level. So we started asking questions. We started having honest conversations with those people who work in the trenches with schools so that we could really say, this is what schools need. So based on what we learned, our primary goal this year is to build a comprehensive repository of training videos and modules. So imagine this would be like a one-stop shop where any school in Texas, no matter their size, no matter their budget, their ability to travel to in-person trainings, whatever that is, they can access high-quality, meaningful professional development and parent and family engagement. We want to tear down those barriers and ensure that everyone has the resources that they need to be successful in this area. Beyond that, we're also really excited about conversations we're having with colleagues and universities around the state. Our aim is to begin implementing pre-service classes on family engagement. So we're talking about future teachers and school staff that can gain fundamental training on how to effectively work with families before they even step into their first classroom. It's a big conversation. It's happening nationwide, and so we're committed to making sure that Texas is a leader in better preparing our future educators to work with families.
Yeah, I think that's such exciting work. You and I have talked about many times that we've been in this field for a long time.
Yeah, let's not say that. It tells me how old
years.
I am.
And neither one of us have had any training in our pre-service education on parent and family engagement and what that looks like. It was more like on the job crash course.
Yeah.
Survive if you can. Learn what not to do from your next door neighbor teacher or an administrator, or learn what to do from somebody that you really valued their opinion. It's such valuable work. And I see it impacting families just across the state. As many of our listeners know, the PFE Statewide Initiative puts on a major conference every single year. This year, it happens to be in Waco, Texas. It's a major undertaking. Think back to when you first started as the PFE Statewide Coordinator or the Director. What was one of the biggest challenges you faced in organizing and coordinating that conference?
Okay, that's a loaded question. So let's take a history walk. I first started with the initiative in June of 2020, interviewed online, and started the job actually online. And we don't have to we don't have to think hard about why that was in 2020. So I took on the program coordinator's role there in early February of 2022. So we were pivoting back to this in-person conference after we had done a virtual conference in 2021. The biggest challenge, hands down, was that we had an entirely new team. For most of us, it was our first time planning a large-scale in-person event of any kind. It was like trying to put together a puzzle with half of the puzzle pieces missing. And the picture on the box had changed. So we would dig through old records from, previous conferences that were post-pandemic, but only a little bit of that information helped because everything was different. We had new health protocols, and the cost of everything had changed so dramatically. I think about like audiovisual companies and catering. So prices had virtually tripled since the last conference in 2019. So we had to get incredibly resourceful. How do you maintain the same level of excellence our attendees had experienced in all those years prior with a budget that feels like it's been put on a diet? But it took a tremendous amount of teamwork and creativity, but we pulled it off. We received some wonderful compliments. A longtime attendee came up to me and said that this was the best PFE conference yet, and I've attended for the past 10 years. So that really speaks to the dedication of the team and the incredible leadership that we have here at Region 16.
So thinking back on those, maybe just the moments of when you thought it wasn't going to happen, and then think about the flip side. We're getting ready for the 20th Parent and Family Engagement Conference. What do you consider one of the most significant successes?
When I look at our biggest successes in bringing the community together at the conference, one thing that really stands out is the surge in school administrators that are attending our conference. It's been incredibly encouraging over the last 2 years to see more and more leaders from our schools stepping up and into these discussions. We really believe that strong leadership sets that tone for an entire campus. So creating a positive culture and climate and having someone there and having these decision makers actively participating, it shows their commitment to leading in the area of parent and family engagement. It's a massive win for everyone involved and a testament to our community's shared vision.
Sure. When we look forward to this year's conference in Waco, what are you most excited to see unfold? There's lots of parts.
There are lots of parts, but truly just the celebration of it all. It's our 20th anniversary, 20 years of the annual PFE conference. It is a milestone, and I'm genuinely excited to share that moment with everyone who attends from across the state and even really beyond the state. Just to give you an idea of our growth as well, last year we had attendees from 7 different states that attended our conference. We're early into the registration process, and we've already gotten 12 people from 2 other states registered for this year. So the reach and the collaboration even outside of the state of Texas is just really inspiring to me. I'm so excited.
I would agree with you. It's fun just to see who shows up from where they show up from, and just that we're looked at almost as a leader in parent and family engagement across the nation is exciting. I'm going to ask you one more question and catch you a little bit off guard. So one of the exciting things about this year's conference is the addition of a parent day.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk about for just a second what you think the benefit of that is for our kiddos across the state?
Okay, great. So, the conference has always been open, not just to educators, but to parents as well. And we really encourage school districts to use some of their Title I funding, to use some of their local state funding to send parents. Because when you put the parents in the same room and having conversations around the same topics with educators, it's powerful. And now let's put them in that conference setting, which even it brings a level of confidence to those parents, those family members that I don't think that's always there when you're just sitting in the same school building that you're always at. And you're getting to have those conversations with people that you might never see, a small school district, a large school district, and you get to hear that, those parents, regardless of where they're from, they have the same struggles. They may have different backgrounds, but they're all fighting a similar fight. We've been having the conversation of how we can really focus more on the parents at the conference. And for the last several years, we turned things over. We had lots of conversations. Some things got planned and then had to get canceled just for various reasons. But this year in Waco, it worked out perfectly. The space worked out perfectly. The timing worked out perfectly that we could implement a special third day of the conference. And on that third day, as we round out the regular conference with a very special keynote speaker, we will have parents join, and we will overlap both conference attendees and parents in that session. And then the rest of the day, we've created a special programming just for parents so they can get a little more information on best ways to help their child and best ways to engage with the school district for student success. So it's going to be, the first one, it's kind of a trial, but I really think it's going to be impactful for parents and for school districts alike, because school staff will be welcome to stay and again, have those meaningful conversations with families, because they know their children best. They know their communities. Right. If we really tap into that power, I think we can do amazing things.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to see that everybody is going to we say this, that everybody's welcome at the table. But right. This year we're actually really putting that into practice. I'm also excited just to see what the outcome of that is. Well, as we wrap up, I want to ask you just kind of a fun question. If you could instantly implement one small creative idea in every single school district across Texas, I know that's a lot, that would boost parent and family engagement, it could be something that's maybe even a little outside of the box. What would it be?
Gosh, that's a tough one because I could go in so many different directions with that one. One thing that I saw a while back, and I've had it kind of a sample of this pinned to a bulletin board in my room, and I've always thought this would be really neat if every school did this, and it was like a parent playbook or some kind of a family field guide. And it wouldn't just be the same old student handbook. It's, black and white copy online. Here's the, state policies or federal policies.
Make sure you sign it.
Yeah, make sure. And nobody really understands what it means. I mean, we all have to do that. But what if it was this bright, colorful, interactive guide that said, okay, here's who key staff members are. Here's a picture. So when I bring my child to school for the first day and I see this person, oh, I know that this is the cafeteria manager. Or I know that this is the nurse. Or I know this is the assistant principal. A glossary of, oh my goodness, the school jargon that half of the time we as educators don't understand, but, families never understand when we use acronyms or shorten things for all of our school terms. And so that when we are having those conversations, parents can have a little guide in front of them like, oh, they said this, it really means this. If the school, if the guide could even give them the best ways to connect with educators. And I know that seems simple, but there's a lot of families, especially families that may be immigrants from other countries or other states that do not understand processes, not just that we have in Texas, but there's such vast differences from one school district to another. Yes. Like, can I pick up the phone and call my child's teacher, or does it automatically get sent to the front office? Can I email them? Do they use Class Dojo? Like, how do I navigate this school district and this campus? And is it in a language that I can understand? How do we celebrate things in this district or at this campus? And is there a space for questions? Or a wish list that I could hear from other parents that live in the school community that I can collaborate with? Is there something that when a parent that is new can take home with them and look through it and have this overarching idea of this is what this school district is about? It's fun, it's engaging, and the goal would be to demystify that school environment. And how are we proactively bridging that communication gap from day one? Like they come in day one knowing I'm welcomed, I'm understood, and now I'm equipped to partner with you. I think, if schools would take a little time, and how can we build that relationship before challenges even arise and make that school feel a little less institutionalized and more like a community. So that's what I think we could turn around and see.
That's a fun idea. And maybe there's somebody out there that they are already doing that, or some piece or part of that. And if so, we would love to hear from you, maybe.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from them.
Yes. Well, this has certainly been a fun way to kick off this podcast. We hope our listeners will continue to join us for lots of exciting episodes in the future from other educators across the state and across the nation, and just to get to the heart of parent and family engagement. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of Engaging Texas Families.